For 4 long years, he waited. Through scorching summers, freezing winters, and endless storms, he sat in the same exact spot, just staring down the road, day after day. A golden retriever named Duke became somewhat of a boast in this quiet little town. A mystery. No one could quite figure him out. People tried to help him, but he wouldn't leave. He was waiting. But for what? Or who? Then, one morning, something unbelievable happened. It took only a single moment to change everything. And if you stay with me to the end, this story might just restore your faith, in loyalty, in love, and maybe even in destiny. The morning sun cast long shadows across an empty stretch of highway. Its warmth began burning away the thin mist that clung to the pavement. The road was still, save for the occasional hum of a passing car. And yet, there he was, as always, sitting by the old gas station. A golden retriever, his once glossy coat now dusty and matted. His deep brown eyes locked onto the road like he was expecting something. Or someone. He barely moved. Didn't react to people. Didn't bark. Just waited. For 4 years, Duke had made this his home. At first, no one really knew where he came from. Truckers. Commuters. The handful of residents still living in the dang town. They all noticed him. But no one had the heart to chase him off. They brought him food. He'd only eat it after they walked away. If someone got too close, he'd stand, take a few steps back, and sit again. Always watching the road. He was never aggressive. Never loud. Never caused trouble. He just waited. Martha Reynolds, the owner of the local diner, was one of the first to tend. At 56 years old, with short gray hair and kind but sharp eyes, she had a soft spot for dogs and a deep sense of intuition. Every morning, before opening up shop, she would drive by the gas station and leave a bowl of food near the old, rusted fuel pumps. Poor thing, she'd say to anyone who asked. He's waiting for someone. I don't know who, but I hope they come back. Duke survived snowstorms that buried the town, and heat waves that trapped the sidewalks. Always returning to the same corner. He curled up against the rusted walls of the abandoned gas station to take shelter from the wind and rain. And sometimes, when the night was quiet and the town was asleep, people would hear him whimpering softly. A lonely, heartbreaking sound no one could ignore. Occasionally, someone would try to rescue him. A trucker tried once, opened his rig's door, coaxed Duke with treats. A young woman brought a leash and sat near him for an hour, hoping he'd come close enough to slip it on. But Duke never let anyone take him away. If they tried, he'd pull back. Step away. Sit again. As if he was still holding on to a promise. Waiting for someone who said, "I'll be right back." It was a cold autumn morning when Noah Patterson first noticed him. Noah was 32. Short, dark brown hair. Lean. Sharp-eyed. An investigative journalist who'd seen a lot over the years. He'd passed through this town many times on his way to assignments. And every time, he noticed the dog. Sitting by the gas station. But never gave it a second thought. Until that morning. There was something about the way Duke sat. Perfectly still. Focused. The weight of silent patience in his expression made Noah slow his car. He pulled into the gas station and just sat there for a moment, watching. Duke didn't move. Didn't look up. Just stared at the road. Noah reached for his phone and took a quick photo. Then, curiosity got the better of him. He stepped into Martha's diner, where the smell of fresh bacon and coffee hit him like a wave. A few regulars sat at the counter, chatting about the weather and an approaching storm. Martha glanced up from behind the counter. "Coffee?" she offered as he slid onto a stool. "Sure," Noah nodded. "And, can I ask you something?" "You're gonna ask about the dog, aren't you?" she said, already pouring his cup. Noah raised an eyebrow. "So it's not just me?" Martha chuckled softly. "Honey, that dog's been sitting out there for 4 years. You're a little late to the mystery." Noah blinked. 4 years? Waiting for what? She sighed and leaned against the counter. "That's the thing. No one really knows. Some say he belonged to a trucker who used to stop here. Others think he got lost. But me?" Her eyes drifted to the window, where Duke still sat, motionless. "I think he's waiting for his family." Noah turned to look, his mind racing. He'd written human interest stories before: missing persons, long-lost siblings reunited, survival against the odds. But this was something else. A dog who waited in the same place for 4 years. He pulled out his phone again and opened his investigative notes app. There was a story here, and he was going to find out the truth. 4 years ago, Duke had a home. He wasn't a stray. He wasn't unwanted. He was loved. His days were filled with laughter, warmth, and the unbreakable bond between a boy and his best friend. Lucas Carden, only 10 years old at the time, had grown up with Duke. From the moment his parents brought that golden-furred puppy home, Lucas and Duke were inseparable. Lucas would wake up early just to be the first one Duke saw. The dog slept at the foot of his bed, waited for him outside the bathroom, met him at the door every day after school. Emily Carden, Lucas's mom, was 38. Gentle, but strong-willed. Worn brown eyes, shoulder-length chestnut hair. She used to say, "I don't know who's more excited to see the other, Lucas or Duke." Benjamin Carter, Lucas's dad, was 41. Tall, sturdy, a quiet man with eyes that carried the weight of responsibility. But every day when he came home from work, he knelt beside Duke, rubbed his ears, and whispered, "Good boy. Looking out for the family." And Duke was. Always. He wasn't just their pet. He was part of them. Until the night everything changed. The storm rolled in fast, thick rain, violent wind, and slick, dangerous roads. The Carters were driving home from a weekend trip to visit Emily's parents. Duke was curled up in the back seat beside Lucas, his head resting in the boy's lap. The rain tapped gently against the car windows. It felt calm, peaceful. Then, headlights. Too close. Too fast. Emily barely had time to scream before the impact came. Metal twisted. Glass shattered. The world flipped. Lucas cried out. Then, silence. When Duke came to, everything was dark. His body ached. His ears rang. Smoke filled the air. Somewhere nearby, people were shouting. Sirens blared. Someone was crying. He stumbled forward. The car was on its side. The front end crushed. And Lucas was gone. Not gone. Being carried away. Duke saw them. Firefighters. Paramedics. Strangers rushing to help. He barked. Desperate. Tried to reach them. But someone grabbed him. Tried to hold him back. Panic surged through his chest. He twisted. Yanked free. And he ran. Not knowing when. Only knowing he had to find them. Through the rain. Through the chaos. Until he ended up on that quiet stretch of highway. And that's where he stayed. Duke waited. For days, he wandered up and down the road, searching for the Tom, for Lucas, for anything that made sense. But they never came back. Eventually, hunger and exhaustion forced him to move closer to the small nearby town. That's when he found the old gas station. It wasn't much, but it was close to the accident site. It had St. Shelton. And for reasons no one could fully explain, Duke seemed to believe that if he waited then, if he didn't leave, his family would come back. So he stayed. Day after day. Week after week. Month after month. And then, year after year. Present day. Back at the gas station, Noah sat in his car, laptop open, fingers flying across the keyboard. He had been digging through old missing dog reports for hours. Anything that could explain why this golden retriever had waited in the same spot for 4 years. And then he found it. A report dated almost exactly 4 years ago. Filed by Benjamin and Emily Carden. Their golden retriever, Duke, had gone missing after a car crash on Highway 214. Noah's heart pounded. That stretch of road? It was less than a mile from where Duke had been waiting all this time. This wasn't just some lost dog. This was a dog who had never stopped waiting for his family. And they had no idea he was still alive. Noah stared at his laptop screen, then turned slowly to look at Duke. Still there. Still watching the road. Still waiting. Noah couldn't just walk away. He grabbed his camera from the passenger seat. If there was ever a story worth telling, this was it. He parked a little farther away to avoid spooking the dog, then set up his camera, framing the shot with the soft golden hues of the evening sun behind Duke. The light made everything look softer, quieter, but Duke's eyes told a different story. Tired. Devoted. Resolute. Noah hit record. This is Duke, he began, his voice calm but full of emotion. And for the past 4 years, he's been waiting. Every single day, he sits in the same place, watching the same road. No one knows exactly how he survived. But he refuses to leave. Because he's waiting for someone. He zoomed in on the retriever's ragged coat, the small twitches of his ears at every passing tongue. The flicker of hope in his eyes. Today, I found out why, Noah continued. 4 years ago, Duke was in a car accident. His family thought he was gone forever. But what they never knew is that he never stopped waiting for them. He let the camera linger on Duke a few seconds longer, then slowly stopped the recording. Noah uploaded the video to Instagram. Then to Twitter. Then Facebook. Caption. The dog who never left, this golden retriever has been sitting in the same spot for 4 years after a tragic accident. His family thought he was gone. But he never gave up. Now we need your help. Can you help us find Duke's family? Then, he waited. But he didn't have to wait long. Within the hour, the video had gone viral. 10,000 views. Then 20. Then 50. The comments flooded in. This is breaking my heart. Please find his family. Dogs are too pure for this world. Someone adopt him, please. And then, something unbelievable happened. A comment appeared. I think I know this dog. Across the country, in a quiet suburban home, Lucas Carden, now 14, was sitting on the couch, scrolling through his phone. A friend had sent him the video. As soon as the dog's face appeared on screen, he froze. No. It couldn't be. Could it? He sat up, heart racing, the phone trembling in his hand as the voice in the video spoke. 4 years ago, Duke was in a car accident. His family thought they lost him forever. Lucas's throat tightened. Tears blurred his vision. Duke, he whispered. It's Duke. His mother, Emily, walked into the room just as Lucas turned to her, eyes wide, voice trembling. Mom. I think they found him. Emily frowned, confused, as Lucas handed her the phone. She hit play. It took only seconds for her face to crumble. Her hand covered her mouth. Oh my God. Meanwhile, Noah's inbox was exploding. Rescue groups. Reporters. People offering to adopt Duke. People begging to donate money. But one message stopped in cold. From Emily Carden. Subject, please respond. Message, that's our dog. That's Duke. We thought he was gone forever. Please tell me he's still there. Noah's fingers hovered over the keyboard. This wasn't just a story anymore. This was real. A family had spent 4 years grieving a dog they thought was lost forever. And all this time, he had been waiting for them, right here. Noah exhaled and began typing. Emily, I just saw your message. Duke is still here. He never left. He's been waiting at the same spot for 4 years. He won't leave, no matter what anyone does. He hit send. Seconds later, a reply. Where are you? We need to come. Please. Right now. Noah quickly sent her the address and his phone number. A second later, his phone rang. He answered. Hello? The voice on the other end was trembling. Is this real? It was Emily. Noah cleared his throat. Yes, ma'am. I'm looking at him right now. He's right here. There was silence. Then a soft, choked sob. We're coming. Oh my God, we're coming. How far are you? He asked. We live in Denver now, she said. It's a long drive, but we're leaving right now. Noah did the math. Over 10 hours away. I'll be here, he promised. Duke isn't going anywhere. Word spread quickly around town. Martha from the diner showed up with a fresh bowl of food and a warm blanket. Her hands were shaking. I knew it, she whispered. I knew he was waiting for someone. I just didn't know who. A few truckers stopped by, men who had seen Duke over the years but never understood why he stayed. Now, they did. And they told their own stories. About how they had tried to help. About how he always backed away. Night fell. The air grew cold. Noah sat near Duke, bundled in his jacket, watching the road. Waiting. The hours crawled by. Until, finally, headlights appeared in the distance. A car pulled up and rolled to a stop. The engine cut off. The passenger door flew open. Emily stepped up first, clutching her coat around her, eyes wide, scanning the darkness. Then Benjamin. Silent. Stoic. His jaw tight, hands clenched. And then, from the back seat, Lucas. Taller now. Older. But those same wide, hopeful eyes. No one spoke. Duke had stood. His ears perked. His body stiff, alert. He stared at them. Then, like a switch had been flipped, he bolted. Across the lot. Past the pumps. Straight toward them. Lucas dropped to his knees just in time. And Duke leapt into his arms, knocking him backward. The boy sobbed into the dog's fur, his voice cracking. You waited. You waited for us. Benjamin dropped to one knee beside them, tears slipping from his eyes. Good boy, he whispered, rubbing Duke's back. Good boy. Emily wrapped her arms around them both, crying, holding on like she'd never let go. And Duke? Duke let out a sound, not a bark, not a whimper, but something deep. A sound of pure relief. Noah turned away, eyes burning. The dog who had waited for 4 years had finally come home. The drive home was quiet. Not the kind of silence that feels empty, but the kind that holds weight of emotions too big for words. Emily kept glancing into the back seat, where Duke lay curled next to Lucas. Benjamin kept one hand on the wheel, the other occasionally tightening around the steering wheel whenever he caught sight of Duke in the rearview mirror. They had all cried at some point during the drive. And now, they were just trying to process it. To believe it. Duke was really him. He was alive. After 4 years. But Emily knew, things wouldn't just go back to normal. Duke wasn't the same dog they had lost. He had changed. For years alone in the cold, watching the road, waiting every day, trusting again wouldn't be easy. When they finally pulled into the driveway of their Denver home, Lucas gently nudged Duke. "We're home, boy." Duke lifted his head slowly, scanning the unfamiliar house. This wasn't the home he remembered. After the accident, the Carters had moved from their small town in Wyoming. The old house had too many memories, too many ghosts. They'd needed a fresh start. Now, standing outside this newer, bigger house with trimmed bushes and a freshly paved walkway, Duke looked confused. Emily opened the car door, but Duke didn't jump out. He just sat there, unsure. "You're safe now. I promise," Lucas whispered. After a few moments, Duke stepped out. One paw at a time. Like he was testing the ground. His body was tense, his ears flicking at every sound, the rustling trees, the humming street lamp, the car passing a few houses down. Lucas opened the front door and gently led Duke inside. "This way," he said softly. "Come see your new home." The inside was warm, cozy. Familiar furniture, soft lighting, and the smell of fresh laundry lingering in the air. Lucas walked Duke to the living room, where an old dog bed had been placed in the corner. "It's yours, buddy," he said, patting the soft cushion. Duke sniffed it. Then looked back toward the door. He didn't lie down. That first night, Duke refused to sleep inside. Lucas tried everything, blankets, treats, even lying down on the floor beside him. But Duke stayed by the back door. Curled up, eyes fixed on the entrance like he was still waiting. Waiting for something. Or maybe for the past to catch up with him. Lucas watched him for a long time, heart aching. How do you comfort someone who's been waiting in silence for 4 years? Upstairs, Lucas finally texted his mom from bed. "He's sleeping on his bed." A few seconds later, her reply came. "Don't wake him. Let him feel safe." Lucas set the phone down and smiled. That night, as the house fell quiet, Lucas lay on the couch flipping through an old photo album. He paused on pictures of Duke as a puppy, chubby paws, floppy ears, that always happy grin. He smiled softly. Then, movement beside him. He turned. Duke was standing next to him. Just staring at him. Lucas didn't move. He didn't want to startle him. But slowly, Duke stepped closer. Then, with the same quiet grace he'd had as a pup, he rested his head on Lucas's lap. Lucas swallowed hard. "You came back," he whispered. There were still moments of hesitation over the next few days. Every time someone opened the back door, Duke would perk up. His muscles would tense. And for a moment, it looked like he was thinking about running again. Lucas noticed it. Every time. His parents said it would take time. 4 years is a long time to wait. It would take more than a few days to believe he didn't have to wait anymore. Lucas understood. What he worried about was whether Duke believed this was real. That this was home. One afternoon, a couple of weeks later, Lucas stood in the backyard. It was quiet. Duke sat near the door, watching. Still unsure. Lucas knelt beside him and opened the door slowly. "Go on," he said gently. Duke looked out. Then took a cautious step. His paws touched the grass. He sniffed the air. Took a few steps. Looked back. Lucas nodded. "It's okay. You're safe." But then, a loud crash echoed through the neighborhood. Fireworks. Duke froze. His whole body stiffened. Ears back. tail lowered. Lucas's heart sank. Another explosion. Duke bolted. Straight for the fence. Straight for the road. No, wait. Lucas shouted. He ran after him, heart pounding. Duke reached the edge of the street. Stopped. His chest rose and fell rapidly. Lucas saw it, the look in his eyes. 4 years of waiting. 4 years of running. 4 years of looking for something you couldn't find. Don't go, Lucas pleaded. Duke looked back at him. The moment stretched out, silent and fragile. And then, Duke turned around. He walked back. Lucas collapsed to his knees, overwhelmed with relief. It's okay, buddy. I'm right here. After that night, something in Duke changed. He became a little braver. A little more relaxed. He stopped flinching at every sound. Stopped watching the door every second. He still had his moments. Still hesitated. But he was learning. He started spending more time outside, just running. 3. Emily, always worried, would watch from the kitchen window. She was scared he'd take off again. But every time, Duke came back. Sometimes he even ran straight toward Lucas, tail wagging like the puppy he used to be. Lucas would laugh, arms wide, and Duke would leap up and place his front paws on the boy's chest, licking his face, tail going wild. You're a good boy, aren't you? Lucas would say through his laughter. And Duke would bark, just once, a deep, happy sound that filled the inn. It became their new being. Duke would run circles around Lucas, pause, and give that, catch me if you can, look. Then sprint away again, tongue lolling out, pure joy in every step. It was like watching him come back to life. One happy step at a time. Emily noticed it. Benjamin noticed it. Even Martha from the diner, who drove up one weekend just to visit him, noticed it. She crouched down, tears in her eyes. Good boy, she whispered. It's time for dinner. Duke sat politely. Tail wagging. No barking. No whining. Just trust. That evening, after dinner, the whole family sat together in the living room. Duke lay at their feet. Peaceful. Content. Something was different. The air. The room. The feeling. For the first time in 4 years, the family felt home. Not just because Duke had come back, but because Duke had let himself come back. He hadn't just returned physically. He had returned emotionally. And as Lucas looked at his best friend, his forever friend, he knew this wasn't just a story about survival. It was a story about belief. About never giving up. About the bond between a boy and his dog. And how sometimes, just sometimes, miracles wait, too. The seasons began to shift. Summer slowly faded into fall, and Duke changed with it, not just in his habits, but in his spirit. His coat had grown thicker and shinier. His eyes, once clouded with fatigue and longing, were now clear, alert, and calm. Lucas watched the transformation every day. It was like watching a wound heal, not overnight, but bit by bit. Some mornings, Duke would sit by the back door, not out of fear or habit, but simply soaking in the quiet. Sometimes he would glance at the road, not with longing, but almost as if to say goodbye to the years he'd lost. The tension in his shoulders? Gone. That flinch when someone raised their hand too fast? Faded. The nights of whimpering in his sleep? Less and less. One crisp afternoon, Lucas grabbed the ball and tossed it across the backyard. Duke took off like a rocket, legs stretched, tail high, wind rushing through his golden fur. When he returned, tongue hanging out and eyes sparkling, he dropped the ball at Lucas's feet and barked, twice this time. He wanted to play again. Lucas laughed and threw it again. Benjamin stood on the porch with Emily, an arm around her shoulders, watching the boy and his dog like it was a scene out of a forgotten dream. Emily leaned into him, whispering, "He's finally home." And he was. But Duke's story wasn't just known within the family now. It had become something more. The video Noah posted had continued to circulate. Local news stations picked it up, then national ones. Duke became a symbol of loyalty, of hope, of a love so deep it could outlast time itself. People sent letters. Hundreds of them. Some were simple, "Thank you for sharing this." Others were more emotional. "Your story gave me the strength to look for my dog again," or "I cried. I needed this reminder that not everything is lost forever." Duke even got a few packages, treats, new collars, toys. Someone even mailed him a handmade dog blanket with his name stitched into it. Noah returned once, weeks later, to visit Duke and the Carters. This time, Duke didn't shy away. He wagged his tail as Noah knelt down to greet him. "You remember me, huh?" Noah said softly, petting the dog's head. "Good boy." He stayed for dinner that night. After the meal, Lucas sat with Noah in the living room while Duke rested at their feet. "I'm thinking about writing it all down," Noah said. "Not just the video. A full story. Maybe even a book." Lucas nodded. "You should. People need to know what he went through. What he never gave up on." Noah looked at the dog curled beside them. "Yeah. People need to know that not every lost dog is truly gone." Later that night, after everyone had gone to bed, Lucas stayed up. He opened his photo album again. New pages now included Duke's first day back, his first bath at home, his first walk through the neighborhood. A new chapter. Then, Duke padded over quietly and lay beside him on the couch. Lucas didn't speak. He just reached down and placed a hand on Duke's head. The dog let out a long, deep breath and closed his eyes. That's how they fell asleep, together. No fear. No sadness. Just peace. Over the next few months, Duke settled completely into his new life. He had a routine: breakfast at 7 a.m., a walk with Lucas before school, a nap in the sun around noon. He knew the sound of the mail truck and barked twice when it pulled up, never more, never less. Halloween came, and Duke wore a tiny tape as Super Pup. Kids in the neighborhood gave him belly rubs and laughed when he pranced proudly beside Lucas. On Thanksgiving, he sat beside the table, watching Emily prepare dinner. She slipped in bits of turkey when no one was looking. By Christmas, Duke was family again in every sense. He slept in Lucas's bed. Followed Benjamin around the house. Rested his head in Emily's lap while she read on the couch. One snowy evening, as the family decorated the Christmas tree, Lucas tied a small silver tag to one of the lower branches. It was shaped like a dog bone. Engraved on it were the words, "Duke always waiting. Forever home." Emily saw it and smiled through tears. "You think he understands?" she asked. Lucas looked over at Duke, lying beside the fireplace, eyes half closed, tail thumping lazily against the rug. "He knows," Lucas said. "He waited 4 years. And now he doesn't have to wait anymore." A year passed. Then 2. Duke grew older, as all dogs do. His pace slowed. His naps got longer. He climbed the stairs a little more carefully. But the love? That never faded. If anything, it deepened. Lucas entered high school. Made new friends. Joined new clubs. But every afternoon, Duke was there, by the door, tail wagging, eyes shining like they had from the very beginning. And every night, Duke curled up beside Lucas's bed. Still guarding. Still loving. Still home. Years later, Lucas sat on the porch, an older young man now, flipping through a well-worn photo album. Beside him, a framed photo of a golden retriever, mouth open, tongue out, smiling at the camera. Beneath it, a caption in Lucas's handwriting. The dog who never gave up. Lucas looked out at the yard. Empty, now. But full of memories. And love. He didn't cry. Not anymore. Because Duke had never really left. His story had traveled the world. It had inspired thousands. But more importantly, it had changed one boy's life forever. Sometimes, people ask if dogs can really feel love. Lucas always answers the same way. They can feel love. They can wait for love. And if you're lucky, they never stop loving you, even when the world thinks it's impossible. Duke's story isn't just about loyalty. It's about second chances. It's about the unshakable bond between a dog and the people who live him. It's about how even when everything seems lost, hope still waits. Not all lost dogs get a miracle like Duke. But his story reminds us, hope is never wasted. Love is never forgotten. And sometimes, just sometimes, a dog never gives up. If this story touched your heart, help us share the message. Adopt, don't shop. Never give up on an animal who trusts you. Share this story to remind others of the power of loyalty, love, and healing. Like this video. Subscribe for more heartwarming stories. And most of all, believe in miracles.